Hello and welcome, my name is Haas, and this is another Hearthstone video looking at another deck that I've successfully made my way to the Legend ranking with. This time, it's not Murlocs, it's a Token Druid deck. So the general idea of the deck is to make a board presence with tokens, hence the name, which are basically summoned little wimps of creatures. I'm also using Imp Masters for that purpose. You then buff them up and make them strong, keep on pressuring your enemy, and ending it with a big damage finish. So just like last time, let's do a few games first. I'll then go over the entire deck list and the reasoning behind the card choices. A warrior, probably a control warrior. That seems most likely. They are the most common. This is a terrible starting hand. None of these are playable right now. I mean, the Wrath might look good, but we want to look for some early drops really. So I'm going to replace all of this. Pretty good early drops, although... Wait, he replaced his entire hand, so this is pretty good. Most control warriors nowadays... we're just going to play the Artisan Squire here. Most control warriors nowadays run one Armor Smith, and he replaced his entire hand, so that's probably not going to happen. That would be bad, otherwise he can't do really anything to counter this, so we can chip away at his health. Although he's going to coin something that hopefully isn't the Armor Smith. Thinking about it. The axe, the Win Axe. So he might not be control. Well, even if he is control, this is a really bad way to deal with the Artisan Squire, if he is control. Maybe he'll just... He didn't go to phase last time though, so... Raider. Okay, so he definitely is in control. That's an aggro warrior. And to phase, yeah. Okay, that's fine though. We have the Savage Roar. I could play the Imp Master, but he's just going to trade for everything and hit us for 5 damage, so we are going to use the Savage Roar here. It might look wasteful, but we don't want to take that damage. We have a second one. No big deal. We can clear this. He cannot clear our 1-1 efficiently because he's not, most likely not running Cruel Taskmasters if he is an aggro warrior, which he just revealed to us. He might want to swing the axe into the 1-1. That would be great for us because that's a terrible trade. So the 4-2, we can't deal with it. I'm just gonna drop the... Imp Master, I think. Yeah, I can trade with it almost immediately, but we want to kind of stall against aggro warriors because they are really quick. We're basically dealing with this as if it was a Zoo Warlock. And just stall until we can get our bigger guys out. We have that Ancient of Lore. He's playing a lot. This is pretty great for our Keeper, though. Keeper into the Fairy Dragon. Or the 4... Yeah, okay, well, not the 4-2. Into the Fairy Dragon, is he gonna... Yep, to face. That's great, we have some very good trades here. Violet Teacher. So, Keeper of the Grove here is pretty obvious. I mean, we could do Keeper. But that's just going to get cleared immediately. So, we'll do Keeper into Fairy Dragon and then trade with both these. And he is running out of gas. Hopefully. We have that Ancient of Lore for healing, which is going to be used for healing in this matchup. Arcanite Reaper. It's 5 damage. Definitely going to be used for healing. Ooh, this is a great turn. This is an obvious turn. We have Power of the Wild Violet Teacher turn 6. We are going to have some really good board presence here. We're going to strike back at him. And he cannot trade with the Arcanite Reaper. Because it's a 4-6. And it only does 5. He can kill the Keeper, but, you know, Keeper has served his purpose. Upgrade, okay, never mind. He can kill the 4-6. Corkron Elite. That's gonna... Okay, he's just gonna go to the face. That's great for us. We can heal, we can trade. And... Wait, hang on. We have 8 mana next turn. We have enough damage if this... all remains on the board. We can get him next turn. This should be a victory here. We'll just heal. He cannot do 13 damage with what he has. If we hit him, he's not yet in range of heroic. No, what is it? Mortal Strike. So he needs to have 7 damage in his hand, which is very unlikely considering he already has a weapon. Argent Commander. That's not going to do it. Is he going to trade? Well, that's a quick match. Get very heated against aggro warriors. But we have enough. Force of nature. Power of the wild. Lovely trees. There we go. That's our first match. A very quick match. As I said, it gets very heated against an aggro warrior. Let's go into match number 2. A hunter? They're pretty rare nowadays, so I'm not sure what kind of deck this is. I've seen very few ever since they've nerfed Unleashed Hounds. This is a very interesting opening hand. We can innervate out Imp Master. Might sound like a weak thing, but actually turns out to be pretty good most of the time. And now that they've nerfed Unleashed Hounds, we got at least 3 turns before they get the doggies. So I think we'll just do this. It's not that strong, but it's a race if we can get that early damage going. Starting at turn 1 with the Imp Master. We can start trading off minions once he plays them. Start trading off imps. He's likely to play like leper gnomes and such. I'm not sure what kind of hunter this is, of course, but he has to get 3 mana before he has unleashed the doggies. Very appropriate name for a hunter. So he doesn't have a turn 1 play. We get some armor, we damage him. We're already ahead at 3 damage in this race. I do want him to actually play stuff though, because we want to start trading off things. We don't want our entire board full of imps and then have the doggies come, because the doggies are scary. Direwolf Alpha? That's weird. That's something to trade with Hunter's Mark. So he doesn't have Unleash the Hounds, otherwise this doesn't make any sense. He wants us to get doggies, get imps so he can get doggies. We don't get doggies. I wish we had doggies. I think we'll Wrath here, actually. We can trade off 1, but we don't necessarily need to. 3 is okay, and he doesn't have Unleash the Hound, so if we can start doing more damage to him, it is a race against hunters. He hasn't done any yet. We're just gonna Wrath. Why not? Wrath the Wolf. Hit him for 3. We've already done 6 damage to him. Not that bad. Imp Master kills herself. Or the imp eats her, I guess. That's a gruesome image. And he has 3 mana, but he doesn't have Unleashed Hounds. It's unlikely. Even if he does have Unleashed Hounds right now, he just trades for the board. Jungle Panther. Oh, he can't do anything against that yet. And a boar? Why the boar? Okay, he's very paranoid of our buffs. Sort of makes sense. The swipe is actually pretty good here, because either we hit his face and get a huge advantage, or he's going to buff the 4-2. It's very likely he runs Hound Masters, right? In which case it gets 4 health. Yeah, there we go. That's a pretty obvious play at this point. So I guess we just swipe. Do we need to? I think so, because that's a lot of damage. We don't want to take 10 damage, right? Playing the Imp Master doesn't do much. We can Imp Master, hit. No, that all the other options are worse. Far worse. Now we could have run the Imp into the 4-2, but we don't need to yet. He might trade with us, actually, because he's taken so much damage. We have the Force of Nature as well. Another 4-2. Probably another buff then, honestly, but we have the yeah, we have the Archon Commander. In case he buffs again, so I'm not that worried. That being said though, we don't have much to play this turn. I mean, Archon Commander would be best for our mana, right? We could also play the Imp Master, or the Azure Drake. The Force of Nature doesn't make any sense. But if we use the Archon Commander, we can run into the 4-2 and the other 4-2, the Stealth guy, because he probably has a buff, is what I'm thinking. Another Hound Master. But then we run the Archon Commander into the 4-2, and he still has to trade. Like, the problem arises when he has an Arcane Shot. But I think we can take that chance. I mean, it's just best for mana right now. Ideally, this trades for both 4-2s. So let's see if he has another Hound Master. Savannah Hindmane. Scary creature. Well, at least it traded with both 4-2s. Oh, Savage Roar. That is a great pickup. We got what we need to finish him. We need 9 mana though, so I'm going to play the Ancient of Lore, so we can just stall, essentially. He is likely to trade into the Ancient of Lore with the amount of damage he's been taking. We need 2 more turns, and then we win. Like, meanwhile, we're damaging him, of course. Kill command on the 5-5, presumably. Yes, so he keeps his 6-5. Is he gonna hit me? Oh, that's a big guy. And with that, he's even... Oh, the Keeper of the Grove is pretty great here. I think we keep her definitely here. And then we just play the Defender of Argus. Get taunts up, we have to stall one more turn, hit him. We get past the taunt if we do the Keeper, and then next turn we have Savage Roar, Force of Nature, right? So we hit him for 2 now, he goes down to 15. He can trade for all 3 of them. And we get rid of the big threat. He has to go through 2 taunts, and we have the Defender left if I do this. It seems like the best play here. He only has 2 cards, what can go wrong? I say this. Nothing here really makes sense. He can trade with both of the taunts, yes, but we have the 2-3, then we have the Force of Nature, the Savage Roar. It's enough. I mean, we need 1 extra damage. That's an unfortunate animal companion. RNGesus is not with the Hunter this day. Although, really, would any other companion would have just stalled it? Ooh, Deadly Shot. Well, that's a shame. So we can't kill him yet. The Force of Nature, Savage Roar combo does 14. Not 15. We can clear his board. That's the safest thing to do right now. Clear his board with Force of Nature. It's the safest thing, but not the coolest thing. He just used Deadly Shot. Like, I'm thinking he has 1 card in his hand. He has lethal right now. He has 16 damage. We have the Druid of the Claw. We can play that in taunt. We have enough to hit him for 1. That's all we need to do. Then we have the finisher next turn. If he has Deadly Shot, we lose. Oh, I don't know. I mean, the chances are so small. He already used 1 Deadly Shot. Is he running a second? I'm just gonna do this. He's probably not even running a second Deadly Shot. Here's hoping. This would be a poor way to lose. Buzzard. Okay. We're fine. An amazing Unleash the Hounds. 1 whole doggy. No Deadly Shot? Yes, he's trading. Okay. Okay, he doesn't have... Surely he doesn't have enough. No Leroy. Ah, that doesn't even do it. Eagle, Horn, Bow. Oh, he didn't even... Ah, that's disappointing. Well, there we go. Pretend like there's a Savage Roar Force of Nature combo going off right now. Quick match. Let's do a 3rd one. Huh. A 2nd warrior. Okay, I was expecting a Warlock or a Rogue by now. I'll take a warrior. I won't take this opening hand though. Innervate. We'd rather have this early than late, so we'll keep Innervate. And that's pretty good.
My greetings.
Well, easy turn 1. Come on, Taskmaster on the Argent. Because that's a very good... No, another fight. Is this another aggro? This is not the same guy, right? Chunk of meat. He actually hit the Argent, though. That's interesting. That he might be a... He might be a control. He might have an Cruel Taskmaster then. I think we just coin out the Imp Master. Just to get stuff on the board. The great thing about fighting a control warrior is that you flip the board, they can't deal with it. Most of the time. I mean, their best board clear is a 7 cost. Although this is pretty good. The Whirlwind. I actually should have considered that. But it's not terrible for us either. I mean, he took out some pretty low value cards here. What do we... Do you want to burn Innervate on this? I think we wait until next turn, then we have the great Violet Teacher, Innervate, Power of the Wild combo. So I think we just we might even want to do Blood Mage Stelnos though, just to get the card. But then he could Cruel Taskmaster it. So we just hit him for 1. Next turn we have a great combo. And as I was saying, I mean, the Whirlwind isn't that bad because that removes 1 Whirlwind. He only has 2. Acolyte of Pain. Okay, so we can't do the combo here because we don't want him to get cards. He's on 4. I think we just silence this, actually. There's not that many great targets for a Keeper. No, we just keep it this. There's not going to be many better targets. Why, thank you, Garrosh, you bastard.
My thanks to you.
Unfortunately, the great combo has been delayed. Arcanite... This is a strange control warrior. I don't think I know this deck at all. I mean, Arcanite Reaper in Control Warrior. Not even the newest... No. So we have to play the Violet Teacher with Power of the Wild. If he wanted to survive, although he probably has an Execute. Although he only has 4 cards. So maybe he doesn't. Well, 5 cards technically. But I think either way we play the Violet Teacher. The Argent Squire, Innervate Power of the Wild. We have 3 2/2s if we do that. And a 4/6, which he can't deal with the Arcanite Reaper. We should be fine either way. Like, if he's running Baron Geddon... I don't know if he is in this deck, but he only has 6 mana next turn. So we're still fine. Baron Geddon is 7. Greenskin? What? Well, it's a very interesting deck. Captain Greenskin is amazing. Not used nearly enough, in my opinion. Luckily we can... Ooh. I'm gonna play the Argent Commander regardless in this turn because of mana. We have nothing else to do. This looks like an obvious trade, but I don't think I will because he has 7 mana next turn. If he has Baron Geddon, I don't know if he's running this in this weird deck. I'll just hit him in the face and trade off. Because otherwise he's going to board clear and we are then in a very bad spot. He's thinking about going for phase, which is interesting. Upgrades. This is... What deck is this? He's going for phase. Okay. So he probably has Grommash, then at least. No Alexstrasza, otherwise this wouldn't make much sense. So if I play the Ancient of Lore, it gets killed immediately. Probably, but that's fine because it's such an amazing card. It replaces itself with 2 other cards when you play it. And frankly, I would be fine if he takes another 5 damage. We're doing pretty well here. It's going very quickly with this sort of weird aggro control hybrid that he's using. So let's draw some cards. Not that worried about health. And it's just great for mana. Power of the Wild. Okay, so we're just gonna hit him in the face. End the turn, see what he does. So it's looking very likely that we can win next turn. Whirlwind. Okay, that's nice. And the Execute. Okay. So we don't quite win yet. And face again! Ah, War Axe. Okay. So this is fine. We have Defender of Argus, Power of the Wild, so we can get our guy out of War Axe range. We can play the Blood Mage Talons as well. Just get more stuff on the board, and I mean, we're just setting up for a victory here. It's unlikely he can deal with all of this. And that War Axe can't kill our 6/4. Can kill the 3/3, but we get a card back, he takes damage, you know. It's fine. Grommash, okay, that makes sense. But unfortunately, he can't use it to kill us, because we have taunts up. And we can kill it immediately with the Wrath, Imp Master. We are 1 damage away. I'm gonna Wrath and search for a card. I mean, 1 damage is... Force of Nature or something is just gonna... No. Ancient Allure. We just set up for the kill next turn, I think. We have to kill off Grommash, though, because... I mean, we're pretty low. We just hit him. Armor up. Sure. Cruel Taskmaster. We still have enough. Okay, well that was a very weird match, very weird deck. Let's have a look at our deck list. Well, those were relatively fast matches, but let's have a look at the actual deck. As you saw, it can be an incredibly quick deck, and in many matchups you will want to put on that pressure and get your opponent to that 14 health range as quickly as possible, and you generally want to do that by creating a powerful board presence. So first of all, we have Innervate. Innervate gives you 2 mana crystals for 1 turn. It's a very commonly used druid card, and it allows you to set up some big plays rather quickly. You can use this to innervate out a Violet Teacher in turn 2, a Druid of the Claw in turn 3, 2 if you have the coin, get an early Ancient of Lore at turn 5, and so on. Furthermore, it combos well with the Violet Teacher, as it is of course a spell, and a turn 4 Violet Teacher into Innervates, into Power of the Wild, can be an incredibly strong board that your opponent immediately has to deal with or otherwise likely lose the match. An incredibly versatile card. Claw, we're just using one of them, is again a cheap spell that combos well with the Violet Teacher and can be used at almost any turn due to it being just 1 mana. 2, however, is more often than not too much and ends up being a dead card or an underwhelming card in most of those cases. As it stands, I'm using 1 almost entirely because of the aggro matchups, such as Zoo Warlock, in which case you will want to keep this card to easily kill their Flame Imps or Knife Jugglers. It can more or less be used as a turn 3 Wrath as well if you pair it up with your hero ability to, like, kill an SI7 agent from rogues or other 3 health minions your enemies might play. It's a cheap card that can be surprisingly good both early and still late game, but running 2 of these is going to weaken the rest of your deck, so I wouldn't recommend that. Artisan Squires are our first actual minions. They're perfect for any Token Druid, really. A fantastic little card because it sticks on the board due to its Divine Shield, allowing you to pair it with buffs. Otherwise, it's pretty good for putting on early pressure as it slowly chips away at your enemy's health, very slowly with that 1 damage. Against a Druid or Mage, it forces them to use their hero ability twice most of the time, which gives you quite a bit of a tempo advantage, which is very important in Hearthstone. And against other aggro decks, it puts on a body on the field that just allows you to deal with their 1 health minions. It's a very solid 1-drop. It also gives you something to do in turn 1, which can be quite important. You'll also want to get this in your opening hand, as pretty much in any instance. I'm trying to think of a situation where you don't, but hardly ever happens. Power of the Wild. Power of the Wild is the backbone of any Token Druid. It is, again, a versatile card that you'll mostly want to be using for its +1/+1 buff, which can instantly make your entire board scary, but on occasion, using this as a 3/2 to stop early aggression or to put on pressure can be a good play as well. Then we have Wrath. Wrath is a fantastic spell. Much like Innervate, this is pretty much an instant pick for any Druid deck. Versatile, yet again, in that it is both fantastic as cheap removal, or good for cycling through your deck in case you have less than a stellar hand or you're just reaching endgame. Having Wrath in your hand is hardly ever a bad thing. Bloodmage Thalnos, the only legendary I'm using in this deck, in this format anyway. There's other options I'll get into in a moment. It is an incredibly high value card. Its use mainly comes from combos. It's a cheap spell power minion, so it is easy to combo with Wrath or Swipe, which can be incredibly powerful. In addition, it can of course be buffed, but even if it dies, it still gets you a new card, so playing Thanos is rarely ever something you'll regret. Mostly though, you'll want to keep onto this guy until you can combo him with a Swipe, because that combo is just too good not to use, really. Then we have Savage Roar. This is essentially your victory condition, hence I'm using 2 of them. Combine this with a powerful board, and it is great, though more often than not you'll want to use this in combination with Force of Nature for the final 14 damage. There is some merit to just using 1 Savage Roar, and many Token Druid decks that I've seen only use 1, but I've almost always regret it when I don't have a second one. Luckily, it functions really well in this deck, as you are bound to have creatures on the field, and because you have 2, you can quite easily use 1 simply to push through damage if you need to put on pressure or for board clearing purposes. Yes, it can definitely happen that you end up sitting with 2 of these in your hand and no minions on the board, and those moments are terrible, but they should be rare, and again, not having a second Savage Roar is something I've always regret. It's also worth mentioning that this card also gives you 2 damage, so if you are in that terrible spot, you can at least use it to do damage yourself, which can sometimes actually save you against a 3/2 creature or what have you. Then the Imp Master. I think these are great underappreciated cards, in my opinion, and rarely do you see token decks nowadays with them, let alone 2, but they're the main thing that sets this deck apart from the standard token deck. Now that Hunters have recently had their Unleash the Hounds card nerfed, and you hardly run into Hunters, it's just gotten that much better in my opinion. Having more imps out is rarely a bad thing. It's a token generator. Combined with the Power of the Wild or Savage Roar, you can put on immense pressure or simply chip away at your enemy's health if you have no buffs. Of course, be careful not to overextend, you don't want to lose your entire board. Although you have 2 of them, so, you know, they're just imps. Swipe. Swipe is another card you'll see in practically every single Druid deck, and that's because it is just great single target removal that additionally deals 1 damage to everything, allowing you to do some trades or kill their 1 health minions, of course. Spell power drastically increases its effectiveness, and again, Blood Mage Thelnos makes this thing amazing. Defender of Argus, it's one of my favorite cards, it's more buffs. I love using this to instantly turn a mediocre board into a great one. Having 2 of these justifies the double Imp Masters a bit more, and allows you to get a lot more out of your weakling tokens. And Keeper of the Grove. Keeper of the Grove is more utility, a great 4-drop that can instantly kill an enemy minion, or can be used to silence big threats. Violet Teacher along with Power of the Wild is pretty much the core of any Token Druid. A solid 4-drop, it's just 1 damage less than a Yeti, which is one of the best 4-drops in the game, but combine this with the Power of the Wild and you've instantly got a scary board. Azure Drakes, high value cards, they immediately replace themselves when played with a new card and put a 4/4 body on the field. One of the few great neutral 5-drops in the game currently. Using the 2 of these is quite important because you need to have a lot of card draw in the current meta. An alternative option would be using 1 Azure Drake and 1 Gadgets and Auctioneer, but double Azure Drake has been the most consistent for me. It's a great card. Druid of the Claw, a great 5-drop, again, versatile. You'd actually be surprised how many times you want to use this as a 4/4 with Charge, as opposed to a 4/6 with Taunt, but either way, it's a 5-drop that other classes are simply jealous of because it's so great. Then we have Force of Nature, which is your other end of your finisher. Combined with Savage Roar, it does an instant 14 damage from your hand. With Power of the Wild, it allows you to do 9 damage. If things go your way, you will hang on to these cards until turn 9, so you can finish your enemy off. If not, they have their uses as a board clear. Argent Commander. Now, this was the hardest slot for me to fill. I've been using a lot of different options, but in the end, the Commander overall served to be the most effective. There's a lot of other options here though. For starters, another 6-drop would be Cairn. Who doesn't love Cairn? Cairn is an incredibly slow card though, and with the frequency that you'll end up fighting Zoo Warlocks or Miracle Rogues, Cairn has mainly been too slow to justify using in my experience. Another 6-drop would be the Black Knight. He is again a very slow card, and in most cases it's worse than Cairn, unless your opponent is playing taunts, which tend to only really come into effect when fighting Handlocks or Ramp Druids, maybe Control Paladins. Mainly, even then it's only Tyrion that you're going to hit, and they still get the weapon. Something Keeper of the Grove can potentially deal with anyway. Like, if they put up an 8/8 with Taunt, you can still silence them. If you're fighting a lot of these though, it's definitely worth considering, but it weakens all your other matchups. I didn't really notice a significant increase when using this against Handlock, a very bad matchup regardless, so I find Argent Commander a better pick in general. There's quite a few non-6-drops that you can consider here as well. For instance, Big Game Hunter. Big Game Hunter has a lot of the same purposes as the Black Knight. It also has the same weaknesses as the Black Knight. It just, you know, it comes down to whether you want a 3-drop or a 6-drop that's stronger. And of course, against Ramp Druid, this thing is still not going to do all that much because those Ancient of War cards are out of that 7 damage range. The other, in my opinion, best option is the Blood Knight. Blood Knight can be fantastic. When you're fighting Zoo, this guy is great. Otherwise, if you can manage to combine this with your Argent Squires, you can have a really scary creature on the field. This guy, or the Argent Commander, is currently looking like the best 2 options for most of your matchups. Argent Commander is more consistent, however, though the Blood Knight has more potential. Finally, another real option here would be Cenarius. Cenarius is, again, a really slow play. Obviously it's 9 mana, but when you are fighting control decks, this guy is fantastic. A versatile card that can make your current board crazy, or you can get an instant board presence in the bad situation where you've lost all your minions, allowing you to still swing for victory with Cenarius, followed by Savage Roar or something along those lines the turn thereafter. Our final card in this deck, final 2 cards in this deck, is something that really isn't up for debate. Ancient of Lore is simply one of the strongest Druid cards out there. Not getting Ancient of Lore is madness. Double card draw on turn 7, or turn 5 with Innervate, definitely worth using Innervate for. Combined with the 5/5 body is just insanely good. Worth mentioning, however, is that there are a couple of matchups where you actually want to use the heal instead of the card draw, such as against heavy aggro, or if you have taken quite a bit of damage against, say, a freeze mage. Ancient of Lore, yet again, brings utility, and it is just incredibly strong. And there we have it, the deck list. I highly enjoy playing this deck. It's probably my favorite deck in the game currently. And clearly it has quite a lot of potential, as it got me to Legend relatively quickly and can put up a good fight in the Legend rankings. While I didn't track all my games when getting to Legend, the last 60 or so I had a 64.91% win rate, which is pretty good. There's only one matchup where I currently am below a 50% win rate, and that's against Priests. Luckily, Priests are rare, but you are highly unlikely to win if you are facing off against a Priest with this deck. Their ability to simply clear the board efficiently with combos and stay alive through healing just shuts you down completely. You have very little chance. It's like a 20% win rate or something against Priests. Otherwise, you are in a bad spot against Handlock Warlocks, but I noticed once I changed my mentality when fighting them, I found myself climbing above a 50% win rate there as well. So essentially, you have to draw into an aggressive start and simply go for their face the entire time. Essentially adopt the hunter mentality that used to be around, only on occasion doing clever trades and really force them to react. Often you can finish the game before they get their giants with the taunt out. If they do get them out, you have likely lost the game though, but putting on heavy pressure and you should be able to win slightly more than half of those games, which is pretty good because druids generally aren't very good against handblock. Otherwise, this deck has a lot of answers against Zoo Warlock, which from my experience is the second most common deck, and you are definitely favored to win those games. Keeper of the Grove just does a great job there. Wrath, Claw is of course in the deck, Swipe, they're all fantastic. Argent Squire and Imp Master allow you to keep trading while building your board. You just simply have a lot of answers there. They can of course still win with a good opening, but they're unlikely to when you have at least like a 60-70% win rate against Zoo Warlock. Then Miracle Rogue is probably the most common deck right now, and it is just a tough one. You should be around a 50-60% win rate against them, because you can just set up a lot of pressure and hopefully kill them before they get their crazy card draw on. This matchup comes down to card draw though. If they get their stuff out quickly, you are often going to lose. If not, you can easily win. A Savage Roar Force of Nature finish is pretty darn important here. It all comes down to card draw. Anything else you are basically favored against. With my token deck, I have not lost a single time against another token druid. I do believe this deck is faster and can keep up board control better. Ram druids can be tricky with the Ancient of War cards, but using your keepers, as I mentioned earlier, to silence those and get around them is mostly enough, as they can't really clear your board, allowing you to push through damage with Savage Roar or destroy all their stuff. When I mean they can't clear your board, I of course mean if you have a buffed board. They can still remove 1/1s really easily with Swipe, but if you have 2/2 on the field, 2/2 cards on the field, they generally can't do much. And that is the deck. Thank you for watching, good luck climbing to Legend, my name is Pinhas, and I'll see you in the next video.